Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Gonna make this as quick as possible. Forgive me if the fan is in the background. If you can hear that, just it's pretty hot today, so I'm not gonna take the fan down pretty much. So as you can see by the tagline, this is May wrap up and June plans for my reading. I am trying to get back into the swing of video making on a monthly basis, at least once on a monthly basis. I might do sprints this month, not sure. Gonna have to think that through. So just gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna go over quick stats, list off the books I actually read, give whatever descriptions I can remember, and then go over how I go about my reading these days, and then go right into my next several planned reads for June. So for May, first of all, last 2 months have been really, really good. My reading has definitely improved in terms of actually finishing books that I am looking forward to and am enjoying, which is very good. I am no longer caring about DNFs. I just don't care about them anymore. I'm just focusing on finishing as much as I possibly can. So forgive my appearance, I'm a little schlubbly. I decided at the last minute to do it today, this video, because I did not do one last month. I intended to do it, so it is what it is. Like I said, we're getting back into the swing of things. So for May, I finished 8 out of 26 books. That's okay. I have not been on a roll like this in quite some time. Those of you who have been following my reading journey know that I took a break for a long time. I got overwhelmed because almost every book I was picking up, I was DNFing, all of them. And that was taking a strain on me physically, mentally, emotionally. And I'm very excited about my June wrap up already because I knew going into June, based on the plans that I had, that there was going to be a lot of good reads coming up, and there have been already, even though it's early in the month. So June will be my best in many, 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 many years as far as individual actually finished reads. So to just continue my quick stats for May, 15 were hardcovers, the rest were paperback. 16 were the last of my library haul. I'm trying to reduce the time I'm going to the library, focusing on whatever books I accumulate to own through Wilfrid Libraries or whatever sales, whatever hauls I'm able to get to in any way. My last major haul was in April. I had a big, big haul in April, so all those are on my big giant shelf. But I'm breaking it down into segments. And what I've decided is I just take my time with it. I'm only focusing on my own TBR, to be read pile, shelf, and I'm just taking my time with the books. So just a little side note, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but just want to make sure I didn't forget anything. So as I said, 16 books were the last of my library hauls. I finished most of them, and the rest were books that I owned. So that's the overall stats. I'm going to list off very quickly, and on my paper here, the books I actually finished. I actually finished The Last Years by Mary Higgins Clark. Avoided this book for a long time. I think I tried to read it a few other times before. I love MHC. Started reading her as a teenager, have read pretty much all of her books, some of them multiple times. I had not quite gotten into The Last Years, which is pretty much sort of a biblical idea retelling of what were the last years of Jesus's life and what they look like based on these scrolls. And Mary based this on a historical idea and historical facts, and sort of blended this idea of a story into this fiction novel. Very much loved it. The next one I finished was Homecoming by Kate Morton. Love Kate. I've read pretty much all of her books. I've liked most of them. I was really looking forward to this new one, just came out this year. I made sure I grabbed a copy from my library as soon as I was able to, which was very quickly. I was looking very much excited about it. I finished it. Wasn't my favorite Kate Morton, but definitely a well-rounded read. And from what I can remember about it, I brought it back to the library already. It is basically about this woman who divides her time between her home in London and then finds out she has inherited this land, this house, which has a history of its own in her family. And in traditional Kate Morton fashion, she tends to do these parallel stories in her novels where she'll do present day and then she'll go back to some time in history. I am forgetting, I'm horrible at this, I'm forgetting the exact time period that the story flashbacks to. But again, highly anticipated. It was definitely written well. The story was not. I finished it because it's Kate Morton, and I do feel a sense of obligation to finishing her books because I have enjoyed her in the past. Just wasn't my cup of tea in the end, even though I did finish it. A series, the only series really right now that I am focusing on is, and pretty much have been focusing on, and pretty much have updated myself between last month and the beginning of this month. So I'm all caught up. I just have to wait for the next book, which is very rare with me with series. The Inspector Gamache series by Louise Penny. Now, for years, I have been contemplating whether or not I wanted to start this series. I started to watch interviews. I saw several interviews about 5-6 years ago with Louise, in which I thought she is a great person. She is such a light. She is such a passionate person about life and human condition, and just I could never say enough about her. If you've seen her do interviews, if you've seen her speak, if you've read any of her books, you understand just how she always brings it back to love and understanding, even when she's writing about murder and mayhem and really deep issues. So her Inspector Gamache series is Inspector Gamache in Canada, specifically in the fictional town of Three Pines, which is a nice village, which is based on where Louise actually lives. I forget the name of that village that she actually lives. I have to go back and look it up. But pretty much at this point, it's each individual book is another case or cases that the inspector has to solve. And pretty much these books are so beautifully written. Anyone could read them. As I said, I was so afraid that if I started the series, I wouldn't like it. I loved Louise, what I had seen of her, but I was afraid that I would not enjoy the series. So for years, I just avoided it. The problem is Louise is so popular and she's coming out with a book a year and the books always become bestsellers. So there's always attention to them. So finally last year, I decided, okay, I'm just going to dive feet first. So I started with the first book. Thankfully, my library has all 18 of the books. So I was able to just rip right through them. I have been loving this series. I finished it sooner than I anticipated. I literally ripped through these books in the best way possible. I love the characters. I love the world. I totally get this series now. I totally get why with each book she gets a whole new fan base, myself included, because she's just so articulate in her writing. She's very vividly describing her characters. And I officially got into her because last year when I was in the hospital, I came across a paperback copy of her book that she wrote with Hillary Clinton called State of Terror. I got about 127 pages into that book, and I was like, okay, this book could have been 100 pages shorter, and I just DNF'd it. But I was intrigued at that point with Louise's writing. So I just decided to jump myself into the series. This last month, I read A Rule Against Murder The Brutal Telling, Bury Your Dead, and A Trick in the Light, The Beautiful Mystery, That was those 5 or 6 I read last month. I'm pretty sure I read books. It was books 3 through 8. Last month I read books 3 through 8. And I just ripped right through them. This month, I'm anticipating finishing the series. I'm getting very, very close. I'm just ripping through these. I mean, these books they're hefty, but they're so easy to read and they're so beautifully done. I'm not going to go into full descriptions of each book because I don't want to get the plots mixed up. But if you haven't picked up the Inspector Gamache series by Louise, I highly encourage you to do so. I hope to meet her someday, fingers crossed, and just really enjoyed her stories, and just I'm a fan now. I'm officially a fan of her work and the person. I finished 6 or 7 of the books. About 6. We'll just go with 6. 5 or 6. About 5 or 6 of the books, and I've just continued to go right straight through. Thankfully, my library had all of the copies of each, so I was able to read everything in order. And again, I just ripped right through them. Book I almost forgot to mention. Nope, I'm not going to mention it. I'm not focusing on the books I DNF'd. I'm only focusing on the books that I actually finished. If you want to know, you can leave a message down below and I will write down the titles of the books I did not finish and give you a brief reason as to why. Then I reread only because I came across a copy. It was part of something that I had accumulated. I think it was like a cereal box or something, and I had this tiny little copy of If You Give a Mouse a Cookie by Laura Norab. Anyway, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, classic book. I did finish those. That was the next book that I actually finished after I was up to date with my current Louise Penny books. And we all love that book. It's such a classic. I then read 2 more Louise Penny books, as I mentioned. And that was pretty much it. So that should be I counted multiple times before I did this several days ago. And I double counted, double checked. So I read about 5 or 6. And then I finished 2 other books besides the Inspector Gamache series. So those are my stats and what I actually finished and read in the month of May. So just a quick review. I read from the 25th to the 25th. The 1st to the 30th or 31st was just not working. It was really, I didn't realize how much it was affecting my ability to actually read, to either catch up with my reading or to want to read at all. The last several months, I saw other YouTubers who do a similar concept. They read from the 25th to the 25th, so it is still a full month. However, for some reason, it's just a good motivation for me. I find that I have been reading a lot more the way I used to. Excuse me. I took my medicine. Don't worry if I sound a little. It's because I took my medicine and I'm fine. I just have my usual allergies, and I think the heat is starting to affect me a little bit. Did not mean to wipe my nose on my shirt. And, that's not a good look, but hopefully you guys can overlook that. I will sanitize my hands as soon as I get the chance. So I'm going to try not to touch anything else for the time being. And actually didn't mean to do this, but I am going to grab my sanitizer just so you guys can use me as spraying germs, and we'll be right back. Just so you guys can see, I am not endorsing this product. I'm just saying this is MD Science Lab Foaming Dispenser Premium Hand Sanitizer with tea tree oil and aloe. and I love it. It has a beautiful pump, easy to use. It doesn't put out too much, and it just absorbs very quickly. It's probably my new favorite sanitizer. I absolutely love this, courtesy of Food Bank. So there you go. And it does moisturize and softens the skin. Again, that's MD Science Lab Foaming Dispenser Premium Hand Sanitizer with the tea tree oil and the aloe. Okay. So as I said, 25th to the 25th, I'm only reading, focusing on what I own in my TBR right now. And I am taking my time because I'm trying to do other stuff besides reading. I have so many other interests. I have so many ideas. I've got all this stuff in my head and I have no one to share it with. And I tend to be an introvert, even though by nature I am an extrovert. But I feel like I am some sort of rare person that can do both, as long as I can have control over when I go out, when I come in. So my plans, it's unfair to say it's a TBR. It's a TBR in terms of there is a pile of and a shelf of books that I have to read. However, I don't know how fast or as quick I will be reading throughout the month because I am taking my time. I want to enjoy books. I want to finish as many as I can. And hopefully I can do that and still finish so many really, really good books because all of the ones I have, I want to read. I'm excited about all of them, getting to them eventually. There's very few that I'm not looking forward to. I'm hoping that there are three on my shelf, about three that I'm hoping are as good as I want them to be, but I will eventually, those are not going to be in my initial pile on my little table here. So eventually I will get to that. But for the most part, I have a lot of good stuff coming up in the near future. So the next pile I'm going to be showing you are my initial plans for June. But before I get to that, I want to tell you about two things. I am part of the Historical Hellions book club, which is run by Books with Sam, Peace Love Books with Jessica, and they usually have a couple of guest booktubers who join them once a month or so. They do join them once a month, and the hosts change every single month. But Books with Sam and Peace Love Books with Jessica, they are booktubers. They are amazing. They primarily focus on historical romances published before the year 2000. So classic historical romances with the beautiful covers and all kinds of nice, beautiful things. So did I mention, I should have mentioned this. How did I not mention that? So last month's pick was Devil's Bride by Stephanie Laurens, which is actually the first of her very long series, which now has like 31 books in the series. I thought it was well written. I DNF'd it. That's why I didn't mention it in my TBR initially, because the main male character just drove me crazy, and there was just too many side stories because it took place in Regency times, and it gave you this opportunity to get to know everyone who was in the ballroom. And I said, I don't need to know about Madame So-and-so. And the mystery, there was a mystery as part of that book, but it was sort of pretty obvious what happened, who did it. And the sex scenes did not bother me, although some people in the group said that it did bother them a little bit. For me, it was the side stories. So I mentioned all of that to say that I'm continuing to be part of Historical Hellions Book Club, and the book for June is by Connie Mason. It's called Wild Land, Wild Love. I was able to get a copy of last month's pick. I tried to find copies of this month's pick by Connie Mason. I am having a little bit of difficulty with that. I hope it's not too much of an obscure book. The sources that I tried to find it on, it's really scant. So I'm hoping, my goal is to get that copy somewhere, preferably buy it for a reasonable price somehow, or find it somewhere I don't want to have to get it through the library because if my library doesn't have it, then I have to go through interlibrary loan. And that's just going to shorten the time that I need and want to have the book. Plus, I'm trying to decrease my actual time going to the library because it's kind of hard for me, difficult for me to get there these days. And I just don't like lugging stuff back and forth anymore. I used to use Hoopla app. I was using that for quite a while when I was working and commuting. I was using that for audiobooks mostly. Pretty much, I'm trying to decrease and not overwhelm myself. So how could I do that? Just decrease the amount of libraries. So not stop going to the library, just don't go as often because then I won't have, excuse me, so I won't have as big of a TBR that I will get overwhelmed and not finish anything. So Wild Land, Wild Love by Connie Mason is a book for the Historical Hellions Book Club this month. They meet at the end of the month, usually on the 27th, the 28th. I'll keep you posted if I can. And we are going, that is our pick for the month. All I know is it takes place in Australia. It is a historical romance. I forget, I think it was published in 1992. So it is 31 years old, like me. So the other, I'm caught up with my series pretty much, not reading too many series. However, I am going to be doing several author focuses and spotlights, reading as many books from certain authors as I can get to in the order that they were published and in the order that they came. So more about that in a second, but one more challenge. The only challenge I'm doing this month, I'm getting ahead. It's all organized up here, but I'm just rambling on, so I'm trying to take my time. So St. Jude has an amazing fundraiser going on this month. Read 30 minutes a day for St. Jude, and it's tied in with a fundraiser. Now, there is a way you can sign up. They have their own Facebook group. Once you join that Facebook group, you can sign up for email updates, text updates, and when you go to post your reading, ideally you do it every single day and you show what you're reading and you hashtag St. Jude Reading Challenge, St. Jude Read 30 Minutes a Day, however, I forget exactly, those are some of the taglines, but there is also, once you join, it will give you a link for an individual fundraiser for the cause that people can donate to on your Facebook page. So hopefully all of that made sense. I think it's great that they're doing it for June. I think it's so smart of them. I love St. Jude, big supporter of them emotionally. I've donated small amounts in the past, and they're just a great organization. I love Marlo. I love the work that her father did, and she is continuing, and they are seeing results. So great challenge for anyone who's looking for any interesting challenges for reading challenge. So it's 30, you have to read, the challenge is read 30 minutes a day and promote it on your Facebook page. And then of course, like I said, there is that link when you sign up for the challenge. There will be a link for the fundraiser, which will go on all month that people can see on your page and donate through that. So that should encourage me to read as often as I can. I know I'm gonna read for at least a half hour every day. I'm going to try to, but it's definitely a good motivator. It's really the only challenge I'm allowing myself to do. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and it supports a good cause. So I encourage you to look that up. Now, I'm finally going to get into, forgive me for taking my time. I didn't know how long this video was going to take, but I think we're pretty much on track for 30 minutes. And I think that's going to be all right. I'm working on verbally organizing my words. And even if I have everything down up here, I just get ahead of myself and I get so excited because I don't want to miss anything. So I have to remind myself I'm not on a timer. So the book that I'm currently reading is a reread of Valley of the Dolls. I am starting to do a reread of Jacqueline Susann's books. And classic book about Hollywood, really was ahead of its time. Jacqueline Suzanne is someone who I admire and respect so much because she had an ear, she had an eye for detail, she had that that ability to understand dialogue. She understood conversation. She understood action and reaction. So are her books Tolstoy? No, but the thing was, Jackie never tried to be Tolstoy. She wanted to write the books she was going to write, which is something that inspires me as someone who obviously wants to be a writer and has tried to write books over the years. I to say I love this woman and adore her story and think she was so brave and so resilient is really inspiring to all of us. And this does tie in with Pride Month because Jackie is such a gay icon in the literary world. She supported the LGBTQ community when it wasn't favorable to do so. And there are themes of LGBTQ in her novels. So I felt like this was a good time. I had started this already a couple months ago. I put it aside to get through my library stuff. And I was really excited because it's the 50th anniversary edition. I tried to read this book again last year on audiobook. I couldn't get into it and I was so surprised. So I rewatched the movie, and as soon as I was able to, I got this copy and I thought I'd probably do a better job of rereading the physical edition. And I am. I'm enjoying it very, very, very much. I anticipate that I will finish it again. It's been a long time since I read it, and I love this edition, this 50th anniversary edition. I was very excited. So, Jacqueline Suzanne is this month. I was able to get 3 of the books she actually wrote, and then a sequel to Valley of the Dolls, Shadow of the Dolls, which again will be a reread. All of these books will be a reread. And by the way, these books that I'm talking about right now, these are the books that are currently on my little table that I pulled. What I'm starting to do is pull 10 books at a time off of my shelf, put them on the table so that I can have an initial plan and idea of what I want to read. I'm reading the books in order that I have them. I'm not just picking them from certain prompts or whatever. I'm reading them in the order that I have them, but I also want to be able to see them at any given time. So continuing with my plans for my Jacqueline Suzanne Spotlight Readathon, I've got The Love Machine, Once Is Not Enough, and Shadow of the Dolls, which was written by Ray Lawrence in the 90s. It was a commissioned sequel based on a manuscript that Jacqueline left before she died of breast cancer. So very excited to reintroduce myself to these characters, this world. Jacqueline Suzanne is really a literary icon, a superstar. She was well ahead of her time in terms of promotion in the book world. If you've seen any of the movies based on her books, you know that they went a little bit into the campy side, which is why we love them, although I always felt like Valley of the Dolls deserved a better adaptation because the book itself is so amazing. What was she fundamentally writing about? She was writing about the pitfalls and downfalls of addiction. It just happened to be under the guise of Hollywood and show business, even though it does exist in those things. And coming from her experience as an actress and TV personality and years of struggling in that field, she knew the story. She had seen people go to the top and fall all the way down because of addiction or wanting too much and not being able to get enough. Reading her books is like being privy to a conversation at your neighbor's house or in the ladies' room. And what was she fundamentally saying? It wasn't meant to make pills and drinking glamorous. It was meant to be a cautionary tale, a well-written, sexy romp of a tale, but very relatable. And of course, this book and all of these books were one of those hidden little secrets that people used to have. It was one of those, private little, you'd hide them in your bedroom, your bathroom. For some reason, they were in people's bathrooms. So I'm hoping to do a vlog of some sort around these books. How that's going to look and how often I will do that vlog, I'm still working that out a little bit. Ideally, I would do it for a week. Don't quite know how I would do it. Might need a little bit of help with editing, but somehow I am going to be doing a focus for June for this month for this incredible author. I'm hoping to get to as much of this as I can. Will I get to all four? We will see. I would like to. But what I love about my liberated idea is taking your time. We should be taking our time with reading. It doesn't matter if it's a half hour like that St. Jude challenge, or if you read a couple hours a day if you're able to. The important thing is to read and be proud and have pride in what you are reading. My next 3 books in my possibilities pile, it's both my possibilities pile as well as my next several reads, is a little bit of a serious book, Felicia's Journey by William Trevor. I've picked up Trevor in the past. I know I have. I'm just a little cautious, but also anticipating this particular book. I'm trying to remember which one of his I read. I think I tried to read Other People's Worlds, did not like it. I tried to read that a long time ago, and just came across this book recently in excellent condition. So I thought, I forget exactly where I got this from. I might have gotten this from a haul, although I think I found it somewhere at a bookstore for free. I did. I found this in the free book pile at Gray Matter Books, right down on York Street in New Haven. And I'll just give you a quick little synopsis of it. Felicia, young and pregnant, steals away from a small Irish town to search for her boyfriend in the industrial sprawl of the English Midlands, where she falls in with the fat, 50-ish, unfailingly reasonable Mr. Hilditch. He is looking for a new friend to join the 5 other girls of his memory lane, but the strange, sad, terrifying tricks of chance unravel both his and Felicia's delusions in a story more resonant than ever with Trevor's impeccable strength and piercing profundity. So, well-known British writer. Looking forward to this book eventually. Again, this is in my pile of possibilities / next reads. So we will see if I get to this at all this month. And the last 2 are 2 individual audiobooks based on the life of Ronald Reagan. One is written by the former president. It is The Reagan Diaries. Very much looking forward to this. Have not read it. And I'm excited to hear it on the audio book. And it was edited by Douglas Brinkley. It is read by Eric Conger. And this material includes 9 excerpts from 9 speeches delivered by President Reagan. And this book, Reagan, The Hollywood Years, by Mark Elliott and read by the author, is pretty much looking into his Hollywood years. I finally read Kitty Kelly's book about Nancy Reagan last year. Finally, I adored it. I loved it. Kitty Kelly is also one of my favorite authors, historical biographies about notable people, and really have gotten more intrigued with the Reagan years and the Reagan history and storyline. Movies about them, documentaries about them, anything. I just find myself gravitated to that particular time because I think I admire the Reagans, but I'm also fascinated at who was around them, who was advising them, what were they really like. I'm just fascinated with that whole time in history. So these will be audiobooks, which will be much easier, and I can multitask while I listen to them. So all of that is my book possibilities for the rest of the month. So these 4 books plus the audiobooks, plus I'm still continuing on with Valley of the Dolls. So that was just under 35 minutes here, but had a lot more to talk about than I realized. Didn't realize I would take that long to go about it. But again, remember to look into that St. Jude reading challenge. It's good. As many of us signed up for that. Possible you can find it on Facebook. And I promise that my videos going forward are going to be a lot more organized. both physically and well rehearsed, hopefully, before I go into them. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. If you made it to the end of this video, just know that I love and appreciate all of you as we continue to grow together on this channel. And who knows, I will probably focus more on different things as time goes on, and just trying to expand my horizons on this channel, particularly focusing on reading. But I'm also going to try to eventually do videos about things that interest me, pop culture things, maybe a little bit of celebrity gossip. That might be fun. I don't have any distinct plans, but just thinking of ideas and different adventures I might want to have. Who knows where we will go with this. So for now, my friends, that is my reading plans and updates for the month and quick updates about the channel. I love you. I adore you. Stay blessed. Stay alive. Stay well. Know that you are thought about and prayed about often. And I will see you on the next video. Bye, guys. Take care.